We could have an accident, we could have carton missing. We don't send someone to go with it.
When they receive that, they'll check if there's boxes missing, they'll speak up. So you'll have actually two separate contracts.
Yes.
You'll have a contract with the customer, and then you have an official Vietnamese import-export contract for tax purposes and accounting purposes.
Yes.
So I was speaking with Nicolas, who's the owner of FFG Bags here at the Global Sources Trade Show. And Nicolas has how many, 20 years of experience?
Yeah, a little bit more, yes.
And how many years in China?
24 years in China.
Wow, and now in Vietnam?
5 years.
So can you kind of walk us through, what are the major steps in making a backpack? And along each step, just offer some advice based on your experience, some tips for people who are new.
Yeah. So most of the customers who come for the first time, they offer tech pack. So tech pack, you need to have drawings, size, which is very important. Sometimes we receive tech packs, there is absolutely no size nowhere. So this is the first step. Then if the customer has an idea of the fabric he wants to use, it's always good to have the same document at the same time. It's easier for us. If customer doesn't know what he wants to use, he still needs to give us the price points of the finished bag FOB price he wants. So we can take him to one direction to offer him some fabric, trims, zip, webbing, Velcro, everything, matching his price
point. Yeah.
Because the same bag, Eastpak bag could be $2 in China or $3 in Vietnam, up to $50. The same shape, the same size, depending the fabric you use.
Fabrics and trims.
So it's very important to know exactly what you want and the price points you want to reach.
Okay.
Next, when we receive this, once everything is clear with the team, we go to the sample room where we start drawing each pattern, like you do for a t-shirt or any garment. You draw a pattern on the computer. And then after that, once it's finished, this takes, depending the complexity of the bag, between 1 day to 5 or 6 days for one pattern maker.
And that's just on the computer. You haven't printed anything out.
Just computer, yes. Then you print. Then sometimes with the printed pattern, we do a 3D model to see if it works out of cardboard. Depends if it's complicated model. If it's easy, we don't need to do it. And then after that, we choose fabrics. Either we choose from our sample room because we have a vast range of fabrics already available. Or if customer really wants something special, we will buy for him. Then we have someone cutting 2 pieces. One we will send to customer, one we keep in-house. So that if customer has comments, we'll have the sample with us to really check his comments and answer him. So we cut 2 bags. Usually the V1, we don't send to print or to do any logo on it. We try to go faster. So we do a first sample.
So let's assume that the customer approves it, which almost never happens, but let's just, after they say approve it, then what's next?
What's next? It should place an order.
What does that mean from your point of view? From a factory's point of view, what does it mean to place an order?
So some customers just send an email. Most bigger customers send a PO, official purchase order. Then we treat it. So it means the sales team will treat the PO, send back sales contract, and start the full process of purchasing everything.
So 3 things: contract, purchase order, and I would add in official approved tech pack.
Yes, usually we have the sample which is completely approved by customer. Most of the customers, they send us back the sample signed by them. So we have their sample on which we all agreed on. So if there is a QC, we can double check.
There are things in the tech pack that are not on the sample. For example, poly bags, silicone gel bags, carton boxes. So, and those have details, and they can.
This we write on the sales contract. So that the PO from the customer usually don't include everything. Our sales contract is our Bible. So it's our responsibility to write everything on it. And if something missing, it's our problem as well. We need to talk to this customer after.
So you'll have actually 2 separate contracts.
Yes.
You'll have a contract with the customer, and then you have an official Vietnamese import-export contract for tax purposes and accounting purposes.
Yes. We have the sales contract at the beginning of the project, and the invoice that we send to customer and to the customs and for the tax bureau and everything. Because at the beginning, we don't know if the quantity will be exactly the same as the invoice.
That's right.
At the end, we do invoice, less details because all was discussed before.
Right.
So the poly bag, the hand tag, everything, we don't put in the invoice. We make it more simple.
Right.
So we do invoice at the end and packing list.
Yeah, that's important to understand that you have like a contract with a lot of details directly with the factory, but then the factory will also have an official government contract, which is much simpler, and the customer has to sign it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you'll be signing 2 contracts.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So contract is signed, customer's happy with the design, and they make a deposit.
Yes.
Then what happens?
Then we start purchasing everything. So on one medium range bag, we have around 20 suppliers to contact.
Wow. Yeah.
So it is a big job to start to really contact each supplier one by one, do a PO, a purchase order for 20 purchase order for one bag. So sometimes it could be a little bit of Vietnam, a little bit of Korea, a little bit China. Sometimes the zip could come from Japan or from Switzerland. Some fabrics come from US. So our big job is to place the order to make sure everything is correct and to make sure that the dates we receive everything corresponds, so that we can start to have a date to give to the production to know when we can start production.
Right. Okay. So you got all the fabrics, you got all the trims and accessories.
Yes.
And you've already booked the time. What's the first step in production?
Before production is to do quality control of everything. So when it comes from Korea or somewhere else, it comes from big factories. So we do QC as soon as it arrives in the factory. When it's in China, because I have a factory in China as well, we have a warehouse. We do first QC in China before it takes the boat.
Wow.
Then receive in FFG in Vietnam.
Right.
And then we do a random QC again. Random QC again, everything.
Right.
So once everything is QC'd, we start the cutting. So this is the real first step of production, is cutting all the fabrics. And then it takes, depending the quantity and the complexity of the bag again, it takes 2 to 5 days probably to cut everything. And then it line up for the production.
I would think for a backpack, you've got lining, main fabric, webbing, and then maybe some specialty fabrics for handles.
You have the mesh, 3D mesh, regular mesh for the bottle pockets, 3D mesh for the back and for the shoulder strap. Inside the 3D mesh, you have foam, could be EVA, could be EPE, could be PU. Sometimes it's a sandwich of EVA for hardness and a bit softer PU mesh, and then the 3D mesh. Then yes, the binding, then the webbing, as you say, the zip, the buckles.
So when all the fabric is cut, and how do you put the style into the line?
We do one-piece flow, so we cut everything in the beginning of the line. Our lines are around 40 workers. Bags are quite demanding in terms of labor, so we have 40 workers doing labor with regular machine plus a few computer machine, which help for the cross stitching, box stitching. And we do step by step. So depending again the bag is, if you have a front, back, and the tour, sometimes we do front in one half line and back in a half line, and then we merge the two lines and we finish product like this. At the end we have a QC. Now we cut all the threads, we return the bag, then we have QC, and then we have packing. So this is all one line. At the end of the day, the product that we start in the meeting are already packed.
And how do you do inline QC, for example, in that line of 40 people? Is there one person that's walking back and forth and constantly checking and helping and making sure that the workers don't make mistakes and fix it on the spot?
Yes, so we don't pay by piece in Vietnam, sorry. So the stitchers don't have so much pressure about the time. So we try to teach every day the teacher to do their own QC. The QC of what they receive from the stitcher before to see if it's well done. Then they finish their process and also QC themselves their process, try not to give it to the next person. This is a difficult job, so we do it every day.
Do you have an end of line QC?
Yeah, so, and then we have a flying QC, always on the line as well. And then we have 2 final QC.
Wow, amazing. Okay.
So yes.
So in theory, in-house, you do 100% inspection?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when the bags come off the line and they start stacking up, when do they get put in poly bags, add the secant bags, the hang tags and all that? How does that all get packaged together?
They are not stacked up. We really do process. So there is never one mountain of bags. We do one by one. So we have the QC, we have the girls cutting the thread, then the QC, then packing at the same time. So every bag is going through and we put in the carton directly.
Okay. At what point do you actually seal the carton box in line?
The same, in line.
Final inspection is done. Final inspection passes. Talk to us about the responsibility of the buyer to arrange for the freight forwarding company to pick up the goods. Do they pick up the goods at your factory, or does your factory deliver the goods to the port and then you turn over the goods and the paperwork at the port?
So we sell FOB, free on board. Means we send the invoice and packing list to the customer. The customer instruct us which freight forwarding company to use. We contact them. Then we find a vessel dates. Then after we ourselves find a truck or a container to go to the port. So this is our responsibility to do. And then we hand over the documents at the port.
Okay. And do you send one of your staff to the port where they open up the truck and the freight forwarding company is there, the representative from the freight forwarding company is there to count and watch the cartons leave the container? No. Wow.
If it's full container anyway, it's sealed at the factory. If it's LCL, we do send by truck. We have a packing list, and then the freight forwarding company recheck the packing list and redo a packing list. Sometimes we have discrepancy of a few kilos,
because
but
technically
we never had missing quantities.
if you're working on FOB GATLI terms, you're still responsible for the goods from your factory to the port.
Yes.
And that truck driver could just be an independent trucking company that's hired by the freight forwarding company.
No, we hire them.
I see.
We hire the truck company.
Right.
But you're right. We could have an accident. We could have carton missing. We don't send someone to go with the goods.
So I guess the freight forwarding company, when they receive that, they'll check if there's boxes missing. They'll speak up.
Yes.
They'll call you, and then you'll have to investigate.
Yes.
But if everything's fine, they won't say anything, and they legally take responsibility for the goods, and you're done.
Yeah.
You're clear. Cool. What competitive advantage do you have, given that you have more than 20 years experience sourcing fabrics and trims in China?
Yes, for China, yes, I do have an great advantage compared to my size of Vietnamese factories. We don't have a team there. So we have my team, so it's very easy for us to source. We've been sourcing there for 20 years. We have a warehouse, so it's easy for us to receive everything, to do QC. Because once you buy fabric in stock in China, once you send it to Vietnam, basically it's too late to complain, because you will not get back your money, you cannot send back the fabric. There's nothing you can do. Right. So this is a big advantage for us. Okay. My main factory is based in Ho Chi Minh, is 45 minutes from the district one, from the center of the city.
Yep.
And another one is in China.
What city?
But in Guangzhou.
Okay.
But Guangzhou is now quite small, it's like 40 people, and Ho Chi Minh is growing, 150 now, and hopefully by TET or after TET, 200 people.